All right, welcome. We're excited to be doing our second open access regulatory intelligence session this morning. My name is Isabel. I'm the industry relations lead at Arazy Group. We're very excited to have you and offer insight into the inner workings of our company. If you're not part of Arazy Group, this is where the magic happens. So our presenter, Iman Jamal, is a highly experienced professional specializing in scientific and regulatory affairs within the medical device and IVD industry. Just a few ground rules. We will keep you muted with your cameras off throughout the entire session. If you are part of a Arazy Group, you will be able to ask questions towards the end. And if you're not, if you're coming from outside, then please remember your questions, write them down. We will be sending you a follow-up email after the session, and you'll have an opportunity to ask questions then and get a response from Iman. We will be recording the session, but for internal purposes, so we will unfortunately be able to distribute the recording after. I think that's all from me, so Iman, go ahead. Thank you so much for being here, everyone.
Yeah, thank you, Isabel. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Arazy Group Regulatory Update Meeting for December 2023. Well, as we end 2023, this session holds special significance. It's dedicated time to review the most impactful updates of the year. And so for our internal team, it's a chance to revisit the essential regulatory updates covered throughout the year. And likewise, for our esteemed guest, it presents a valuable opportunity, I think, to gain a summary of the significant updates from 2023 we have covered also in this year. So the country we will be reviewing in this session are USA, Canada, Australia, Serbia, Turkey, Saudi Arabia, Egypt, Qatar, Botswana, China, Malaysia, Thailand, Pakistan, Mexico, Costa Rica, and Ecuador. So yeah, let's start with USA. So as you may already know, the FDA implemented the eStart program on October 1st. 2023, introducing an interactive PDF. It's an interactive PDF designed to streamline submission processes. So this form, downloaded initially, facilitate an interactive completion by allowing user to input information, select item from drop-down menu, and dynamically adjust section based on selections. Once completed, the PDF is submitted through the Common Electronic Submission Gateway called CESG, enabling electronic transmission of regulatory data to the FDA. Okay. So Health Canada plans to adopt the eStart, the same eStart for exclusive Canadian submission and for a joint submission with the FDA. So they are running two pilot programs for eStart, and the Health Canada Only Start pilot began in mid-2023, while the joint Health Canada FDA pilot was initiated earlier this year. The viability of the eStart adoption in Canada will depend on the outcome of this pilot program. So similar to the FDA eStart system, Health Canada is aiming to employ eStart for submission preparation, followed by CESG for electronic submission. And for that, Health Canada launched also a pilot program called the Regulatory Enrollment Process, known as REP, that uses the FDA CESG, the platform for electronic submission. And that was in November 2019. And it will conclude this month, by the end of this month. And they already shared that they had positive outcome, and that a voluntary use of this RRP will begin since starting from January 2024. Okay, moving to Australia, the TGA has revised the evidence criteria for IVD QMS. That was an important news that was released on June. So currently they accept several certificates and approval, including TGA Conformity Assessment Certificate, EU IVDR Certificate, MDSAP Certificate, US FDA PMA, and Singapore HSA approval for certain IVD classes. Notably, the commonly used ISO 13485 is no longer accepted, and that was since May 26, 2023. This is the big change. However, an ISO 13485 accompanied by European Declaration of Conformity issued before May 26, 2022, and EU IVDD certificates are still acceptable, but have different upcoming cutoff dates, as we can see in the table. So yeah, in 2026, 2027, 2025, have to take note of this upcoming date. Moving to Serbia. The Serbian agency called LIMS has outlined two critical types of medical device surveillance system reporting. Firstly, the PMSR for these specific MD and IVD classes, as you can see. This report should be updated as needed and promptly submitted to the agency upon their request. Secondly, the PSUR for higher classes, for higher risk classes of MD and IVD, this report should be updated in accordance with specific timelines depending on the class risk, and it could be prepared once every 2 years or at least once a year for higher risk. It depends on the risk class. Also, for some classes, it should be submitted to the agency, while in other cases, it should be prepared and only submitted if the agency requested the report. In Turkey, there has been an update in Turkey medical device classification rules, specifically pertaining to the rule number 13. So the recent amendment includes the following. Equipment, so yeah, this was added to the rule 13 of the risk classification. Equipment designed for reducing, removing, or breaking up adipose tissue and devices emitting high intensity electromagnetic radiation for skin application, they are now classified as class 2B. However, if the high intensity electromagnetic radiation equipment for skin application is solely for hair removal purposes, it falls under class 2A. Furthermore, devices intended for brain stimulation utilizing electrical current, magnetic field, or electromagnetic field to affect neuronal activity throughout the skull are now classified as class 3. So, staying in Turkey, since the global pandemic has been declared over as of the 5th of May 2023 by the World Health Organization. So this interim announcement that was special, number 2021 KK4, has been eliminated. So now, there is no time extension will be given to document for which apostille or embassy consulate approval procedure have not been completed. So now have to follow for the legalization the number 2023 KK4 instead of 2021 KK4. Saudi Food and Drug Authority introduces the overseas medical device manufacturer account for submission. It was very important update this year. So now overseas medical device manufacturer can create a GHAD Unified Electronic System account to apply for MDMA, to access to all MDMA certificates, to control of MDMA application submission, to transfer MDMA certificate between AR or linking MDMA certificate to an AR license. In the same country, a newly released guidance outlines the reporting requirement for significant and non-significant changes related to MDMA, Medical Device Marketing Authorization, which includes IVD. So for significant changes, manufacturers are mandated to update the relevant MDMA application. But in the GHAD system by submitting the medical device change form Annex 1, along with all pertinent documents that are related to the change. While for non-significant changes, manufacturer will send the same documentation, I mean the medical device change form Annex 1 and the relevant document related to the change at an email, this email. With the title containing the specified, it should contain MDMA certificate number. This is the difference. The Egyptian Drug Authority has released two guidance regarding import and registration of MD and IVD that are circulated in Great Britain and are not required to be circulated in the European Union, and the ones in accordance with the procedure and rules regulated in Japan. So both guidelines outline the requirement for registration and import permit. The first guideline became in force on July 1st, and the second one started on August 29 of the same year. In Qatar, the Ministry of Public Health launched the primary source verification called PSV. It is a process in partnership with Dataflow Group, and this is very important because there make a change in the notarization attestation process. So with this system, the system will allow to verify the authenticity of the document, for this registration certificate of the manufacturer, CE-FDA certificate from the country of origin, or free sale certificates. So in this circular number DHP 2023-100, it include the link where company distributor can apply for this verification, for the verification through Dataflow. In Botswana, as of September 7, 2023, the BOMRA announces a voluntary registration initiative for medical devices, including IVD. It's important to note the following key details. Voluntary registration period started from October 1st, 2023, and will end in March of the next year, the end of March of the next year. And right after that, the mandatory registration period will commence on the 1st of April 2024. So during the voluntary registration phase, priority will be given based on a specified list published in this notice. So we can access the notice and see the list. This priority list detail all these devices that could be registered in this voluntary phase, but it is a list that is subject to periodic update. So I have to check it every time we're interested in that. In China, we will talk about the UDI. So let me first share a background with you regarding the UDI, or to refresh the information about the UDI in China. We know that first, in January 2021, the first batch of around 69 types of class 3 medical devices implemented the UDI. Then on June 2022, a second batch of other class 3 medical devices, including IVD, also implemented the UDI. So now with this present announcement that was published on February of this year, a third batch was published and includes some class 2 medical devices. And this announcement include an attachment where you can find a list of all the concerned or the concerned class 2 medical devices of this batch. So medical devices of the third batch that will be produced from June 2024 shall have a UDI, and the medical devices of the third batch produced before June 2024 may not have this UDI. This is an important date. And yeah, this third batch include several type of medical devices. We can give as an example active surgical instrument or passive surgical instrument, nerve and cardiovascular surgical devices, orthopedic surgical instrument, etc. Also in China, the first version of catalog of MD exempted from clinical evaluation has been updated, published and took effect on July 2023. So the catalog includes the update of product description, classification code, and product name for 86, around 86 devices. But the most important update is that they have added 21 new devices that are now also exempted from clinical evaluation, like disposable intracranial retraction and the fixed catheter, cardiac occluder loader, and yeah, many other devices such as oxygen mask, for example, or medical air compressor. So yeah, in total of 21 devices were added to this list. And through the announcement of the NMPA on adjusting part of the medical device classification catalog on August 2023, 5 categories have increased from class 1 to class 2 or from class 2 to class 3. The current certificate for class 2 are only valid until December 2025 and should be applied for new risk classification as soon as possible. And 8 categories have decreased from class 3 to class 2, and from other ones from class 2 to class 1. For that, the manufacturer will receive the certificate with updated reclassification once they renew their registration. And another 8 categories have been newly added to the classification catalog. This is new. It is important to note that new application for medical devices registration will be accepted under the new category from the date of this announcement, I mean August 2023. And medical devices that were already in the process of registration under the previous category will continue their evaluation and approval process under the original category. So in Malaysia, since June 2023, the following requirements related to post-market surveillance were added for the re-registration or renewal process. So for general medical devices, updated clinical evaluation report, which include the latest PMS report for the past 3 to 5 years, are now required for the renewal. And for IVD, an updated clinical performance report and PMS report for the past 3 to 5 years is also required in the process of renewal. And if there are no PMS adverse event, a declaration letter should be provided that justify that. So in Thailand, on September 1st of this year, Medical Device Control Division launched 4 new submission systems. This concern medical device product diagnostic system, medical device advertising system, system for amending, changing establishment registration, medical device sales license, CAR, GMP system for medical devices. Can check the website and see all the e-submission system that they have. And these 4 are the newly added one. In Pakistan, on February, early this year, the Drug Regulatory Authority of Pakistan published a notification of amendment in the medical device rule regarding the extension of the exemption period for the following medical devices that are exempted from either establishment certificate and or enlistment registration certificate. So class D and C were the exemption was extended until the last day of this month. So this for class C and D, it will end soon. This exemption will end soon in 2 weeks. While for class B and class A, it is extended. It was extended until the 31st of December of the next year, 2024. Yeah. In Mexico, there was this big update, very important update, particularly the introduction of medical device supplement 5.0 that entered into force on July. The first regulatory advancement that reflects this supplement is undoubtedly the inclusion of 11 new general methods of analysis for medical devices known as MGADM, most of which correspond to biocompatibility, a recognized essential principle of safety and performance. I think one for gamma spectroscopy, another one for meteorological traceability. So this is regarding this newly added general method. And the second point is reflected in the supplement is the development of complementary provision of the standard known as NOM 241 SSAA1 2021 for GMP for medical devices. In this regard, it's a new chapter on the sterilization of medical devices have been included, which is more specific than the guiding publication of the Federal Executive of Health Regulation in Mexico. It describes processes such as dry heat, biological indicator, ethylene oxide, radiation. Also, so this is very important. The sterilization. Another appendix has been added regarding stability studies. Also, there is another appendix that have been updated that needs concern the risk management, and another new appendix. I think it was related to, yes, this is very important. It's related to the software. So this is very important addition, and also it is now officially added the definition of the software as medical devices. And the third point is the regarding 7 new specific monograph. Um, there are monographs regarding to the oxygen concentrator, surgical mask, containers for sharp needles for blood collection, etc. And the last point concern many different other updates that I think they are very important. They are related to another appendix that were added or updated. And yes, it's worth to mention that it explained the, for example, the Appendix 3. It's an update on the legal foundation and harmonization of documentary requirements for registration, modification, etc. Of and It added. This is where you can find this new definition of software as medical devices, and the another important appendix 4 update, which consists of an update in the grouping criteria. And then yeah, also appendix 2, there are 12 new rules of classification criteria also for Mexico. So this is a very, very important change, completely change in all aspects related to registration, renewal, or whatever of medical device and IVD in Mexico. So it is already an effect. And the next country is Costa Rica. In Costa Rica also, the decree number 403902S for medical device and IVD came into force on September. And the most important updates are regarding to accessory and software as medical devices. Now it has the same treatment as medical devices. So the accessory, in our second point here, you can see the accessory may be individually registered or registered with the MD, depend on the circumstance. The classification has been reorganized now in an annex at the end of the decree, presented as rules numbered from 1 to 9 instead of the previous classification. It was listed in paragraph like class 1 A and B, class 2. Now it is like harmonized, and the classification is listed as rules. Then it is allowed to register under the same procedure in the following cases: when there are multiple presentation, and all the presentation to be registered must be indicated in the application. For dilution of the same, many details about the the registration in the same procedure. Can see the details in the decree. What else? Yeah, we come to the point number 5, and this is a very important update. So from now, the class 1 medical devices do not require registration. Then all processes must be managed through the portal platform called Registrelo. Requirements for registration of MD class 2, class 3, class 4 renewal and amendment were also updated. And there are also more updates regarding the labeling, the advertising, updates regarding ionization radiation, certificate of resale, and last point regarding prohibition. I mean, by prohibition, I can give some example, like for example, uh, they specifically states that IVD designed to detect, for example, the presence of HIV or VHGL or hepatitis B, hepatitis C or D are not authorized by the Ministry of Health for a public sale. This is first prohibition. There is also the registration or sale of menstrual cup that have specific condition like indicating continuous use for more than 8 hours, it's prohibited. Also, the donated medical devices are prohibited in Costa Rica. And now we come to Ecuador, our last country for today. And there were several updates during this year. First update, where the competent authority recognized this, like have this simplified sanitary registration process. We already had the simplified sanitary registration process, but only for class 1 and 2. And now they added class 3 and 4 in this resolution in January 2023, very early this year. Then after that, there are two publication, a guideline and a notification for procedure for amendment. And here it is very important. There are very important documents because they specify in there are details about the process of notification and the notification submission and submission of a notification together with modification. Here we can find what is the definition of a notification, which anything different from a modification, because when you go to the modification, you have all the condition to be considered as a modification. So any change that is not a modification, so it is just a notification. He can find the process, how to submit a notification, how to submit together notification with modification. In the third point, we have the another external instruction. Here you can find the updates requirement about the modification here, and also renewal and registration. And the last point regarding classification rules, here there's an update in the classification rules, sorry. So there were an inclusion of a new definition, and very important to note the addition of definition of software as a medical device, like we said in Mexico, now also in Ecuador. And the inclusion, there are inclusion of several examples that can help to navigate the classification rules of the IVD. Thank you. And please, if you have any question. Yes. Ana Lucia?
Hi, thank you, Iman.
Yes.
I have a question about the Saudi Arabia change, the update. After the introduction of the overseas manufacturer submission, what will happen with the role of the authorized representative?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, good question. So let me just go through the, yes, here. So in Saudi Arabia, they still need to have an authorized representative, and they will be required to attach an agreement to their application. I mean, the manufacturers still need to have the authorized representative, and even if they are in the process of the registration in their account, they have to to attach this agreement that they have an authorized representative. Now, in case the overseas manufacturer chooses to, like, he is going to do this submission by himself, the authorized representative can access the account, but just as the viewer, and he will not be able to submit any request, or to renew or update anything, or to view more detail of an application, but he can, or she can see the issued the certificate or licenses, view the products and accessory of each in the MA, However, I mean, this is in the case that the overseas medical device manufacturer chooses to do all the process by himself. Now, still be possible to submit in the old way, I mean, to delegate to an AR that will act on behalf of the overseas manufacturer. Okay.
Thank you. Very clear.
You're welcome. Any other question?
I have a question.
Gabriel? Okay. Yeah.
Hi, everyone. Thank you, Iman. Thanks, Iman. I have a general question because I was wondering which of these changes would have the biggest impact in the regulatory arena and in our operations as well. I'm in between the eStar adoption and because of the budget, the exclusions or the changes in the requirement for clinical trials in China. But I would love to hear other people's opinion.
Yes, I will just share my opinion. Then, if anyone else can share their thoughts. For me, yes, of course, the most important update is about the eStart that has already started in USA, and looking through the upcoming one that could come in the future for Canada and will change all the panorama. Also, what we have just discussed here about the KSA, this overseas medical device manufacturer registration. This is a big change, I think, in Saudi Arabia, and also this new or this update in Mexico, a new supplement. The new supplement, it's a big update, a big change, or also the new decree in Costa Rica. So this was a very a year full of change and big update. Yeah, this is in my opinion. If we have here a few experts from Arazy, they can just share their opinion. What do you think, for example, Ray, about the eStart, how it's going, this big change in USA? When do you think that it's like we are still doing they are still doing the pilot in Canada? Where do you think this could be in practice in Canada? Just an opinion.
Oh yeah, sure. Hi. Yeah, so I'm not sure that eStar itself impacts the burden on the sponsors, but it does force the sponsors to evaluate the product test reports that they're submitting more closely because there are force fields within the eStar template which you could get away with not completing under eCopy, but now they're forced. I think the bigger impact on sponsors are the new versions of standards and guidance documents coming out. You know, as we're posting now. Next week we have the version 4.1 is required for EMC, and there's the TR 60601-4-2. Which is a forced upload requirement in the current version of eStar. So I think that the FDA requirements for evaluating products under 510K has increased significantly, not necessarily due to submitting an eStar format per se, but just through the evolutionary increase in regulation and product evaluation, you know, which has been going on for many years. As far as the Health Canada, depending exactly how much of the eStar format Health Canada will adopt, because I know that, you know, voluntarily they're starting January 1st, for uploading the submissions in their current electronic format, which will become, I believe, in June 2025 mandatory. So, anybody that has, the ESG account for uploading submissions, like biological 510Ks, you still have to upload that way versus the portal, the CC portal, which is, most people are using now for 510Ks. We didn't mention that in the slides, but it's an easier system to set up and use on your computer than the e-submitter. But if you're doing biological 510Ks, you still need to use the e-submitter, and also submitting to Health Canada if you want to do that in a couple of months voluntarily, or wait for it to become mandatory. You would have to set up an e-submitter account if you don't have one, and upload those. But I think that might make things easier, and maybe a little more harmonization between the U.S. and Canada. If Health Canada does adopt more of an e-Star type format, I know that the current e-Star template has a Health Canada box, which is a button, a radio button, which is grayed out. But if they do, adopt that in full, then it could become actually a little bit easier. The burden is heavier each year due to the additional requirements in testing, like for FDA, for sure. But to do dual submissions in both Canada and the US at the same time, the total burden between the dual submission pathway might be less, depending on how all this plays out, versus right now, they're two separate processes. So it looks like the way it's going, that those will be merged into one process. So in the e-Star form, you would select, maybe they'll come up with a dual, which would be really nice if they come up with a button that's dual, FDA and Health Canada button. So you're entering the information, you're embedding or uploading the test reports into the e-Star PDF one time, and then maybe you can do the submission through the e-submitter one time, and either the same type e-Star will go to both agencies, or maybe the e-Star, two different formatted e-Stars with maybe different fields activated, information presented differently, might go to both regulators at the same time, which might actually make the process less burdensome than more burdensome. So we'd have to see how that plays out. The biggest burden on manufacturers and sponsors of regulatory applications is the product testing. And with the nonstop increase in product testing requirements, especially by FDA, I think that the burden for manufacturers is just going to continue to rise, regardless of the submission format or even harmonization. I mean, FDA will only harmonize so much. During the harmonization meetings that BSI used to hold every year with FDA to come up with the MDR requirements, some of the guys at BSI who are no longer there had said that FDA was willing to harmonize as long as everybody did things the FDA way. And so, and I think that's why there's the MDR things that Health Canada are doing. A lot of the tier 1 countries are now doing things that, even if they're called different names, they kind of look and feel more like what FDA has been doing. So there could be some harmonization going on, but I think it's going to lean more towards what the FDA is doing. And if FDA is not willing to make changes, I guess that would be the only way you could harmonize. So I think that, that adds burden to the manufacturers as well. But that's what I see as the biggest burden to manufacturers, is the cost and the complexity of how FDA wants products to be tested.
Thank you so much, Ray.
Thanks.
Well,
thank you.
Yeah. If there is any other question.
Hi, Iman. Thanks. I have a question.
Yeah. Carlina, go ahead.
Yes. Will the regulatory enrollment process become mandatory by January 2024?
Yeah, you mean for the
No,
for
it's the
the
yeah. So
Yeah.
it's voluntary starts January 2024. Mandatory is June 2025, if I remember the dates correctly. So I
Yeah.
think there's like an 18-month voluntary period. You know, assuming that you were in the pilot.
Mhm.
Okay,
Exactly.
thank you.
You're welcome. Um, okay. So I think we have covered all the updates today. And yeah, again, thank you for your participation and wish you a happy new year and see you next year.
If you do
Thank
still
you.
have questions and you are not an Arazy Group member, please, we're going to send you a follow-up email and you can ask your question in a form there. So once again, thank you so much for coming today. Have a great rest of your day, wherever
Thank
you
you,
are in the
everyone.
world.
Bye.
Happy
Thank
holidays.
you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Happy
Bye.
holiday.
Thank you. Bye bye.
Thank you.